I would say we're on wave 2 of Pokemon Go information, that when the game came out, people were rushing to try to find those little optimizations, tips, and tricks, but now we're starting to get into the really specific details for becoming a Pokemon Master, which is why I want to kind of do a guide showing the crazy information that we have right now to getting the most out of your Pokemon Go adventures. So starting off, we have from the Silph Road. These guys have been putting in work when it comes to Pokemon Go analysis and stats, and right here we have hit point heavyweights in Pokemon Go, an analysis from the Silph Research Group. Pretty much it rates all of the Pokemon and their average hit points as well as the potential max hit points for each species at any trainer level. So here we go, S+. Kind of makes a lot of sense. It's interesting because to a degree, this does represent true to the actual handheld games, like the original games or even the newer games. These are the rough hit point values, but at the same time, some of them are a little different. Either way, in Pokemon Go, it does translate. Chansey, Snorlax, Wigglytuff, Lapras, and Vaporeon have the highest hit point stats in Pokemon Go, and it kind of reflects that, and then you can kind of see that there are differences as you go into Pokemon. Also, it's only fully evolved, so you're not going to see any of the lesser Pokemon here. Then we also have Rhyhorn into Muk, Kangaskhan. Yeah, so just good stats and health and stuff like this. So I'll leave a link in the description to all of these sources. That way, if you guys need a little bit of catching up or you want to build the most optimized team, you can use these guides for reference. Next up, we have CP gain. So there is a CP tier list, despite what you think. Actually, there's a lot of different tier lists and layers and stuff. The different Pokemon gain different levels and stats and hit points, and the moves have differing ranges and stuff as well. So yeah, thank you very much, Reddit and Cerebi and Silph Road and all these guys for bringing all these really good sources, news articles, and whatnot. So here we go. All data is from my spreadsheet, sorted by the combined CP and PU column. Still missing a lot of data, so it will get updated from time to time, but this is what we have right now. We have Snorlax, Lapras, and Dragonite as for the Pokemon that we know exist. Like all you can see with these asterisks right here, that these Pokemon have yet to be obtained. At the same time, Dragonite, Snorlax, and Lapras, pretty high up there, and every time you go for that power-up, you're going to get the most CP out of these Pokemon. Next up, we have A tier, Arcanine, Exeggutor, and Vaporeon at the top. And now you can understand why so many people are spamming that Vaporeon. I feel like whenever you look at the lists of gyms and stuff, that Vaporeon is most commonly at the top, holding down the fort. That's because it gains a mad amount of CP, has great hit points, and the water typing, it's kind of solid. You're only going to really get wrecked by grass and electric, which isn't too bad. And as Pokemon Go plays out, you know, gyms and typings and team compositions do have a hand in it. But Vaporeon is a very OP Pokemon that is fairly accessible compared to other Pokemon like Dragonite. Also, Gyarados gets pretty well, and then it kind of goes down from there. B tier is going to be Dugong, Golem, Ninetales, and Wigglytuff at the top, with Jolteon in that upper mid-range B tier on the stats, and then at the bottom, Pokemon F tier, Ditto, Onix, we still don't know, you know, tentative value from CP formula, not yet confirmed. Chansey has high hit points, but gains low CP per power-up. And then to complement that list, we have this right here about how much Stardust it costs for every 4 power-ups. So after collecting a bunch of CP per power-up data, it is the same OP, I decided to figure out how much it takes to perform a power-up at each Pokemon level. Pokemon CP growth is fairly linear, but I did this by going through my box, taking the CP and dividing it by the CP per power-up, and then getting the level. Stardust increases every 4 levels is what this shows. So level 1 to 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 1000, and then it gets a little bit more expensive. So it goes from 200 each 4 to 300 each 4, and then it goes up to potentially 500 when you start getting to level 41s to 43s on these Pokemon. Let's see, took the plunge and powered up for more data. So it started at level 21 and then started climbing even more. To calculate your Pokemon's level, take the current CP, divide by the power up, and then you can look in the spreadsheet above. So lots of spreadsheets, lots of CP data, and this could help out with optimizing your team, planning your Stardust routes, and all kinds of stuff about that. About the max Pokemon level, it's actually twice your level, but you're allowed to go over it by a little bit, perhaps depending on your level. So yeah, your trainer level actually influences how much CP your Pokemon can gain and how much they can level up. That's what that little meter, that like half circle meter is. That once that fills up, it means you need to get a higher trainer level before you can train your Pokemon any further. So just some information coming across. Also, a little bit more information to go with that. Do not use your dust on lower level Pokemon that you catch when you first start your adventure. That training them up is going to be a waste of Stardust, honestly, and that you should wait till you get a very high trainer level. That means the Pokemon you encounter in the wild are going to have a higher CP, and you'll also have a lot of dust from when you grinded to get to that level. So, you know, you don't need to have a solid team from the beginning. Try to get a higher trainer level, and then it's going to be worth snowballing it at that point. So don't worry about taking on and having the fullest team until that point. Next up, egg hatching. Ooh, egg hatching is fairly fancy because we have the 2-kilometer eggs, and those contain the starter Pokemon, which are very sought after, but there's also a lot of not so sought after Pokemon. I mean, Pikachu is a really desirable one, Clefairy potentially as well, but you're going to see a lot of Caterpie, Weedle, and Pidgey, so it's kind of like a risk reward. You know, spending time on those 2-kilometer eggs is going to take away from hatching the 10s, which are going to have better Pokemon, but at the same time, it's going to have the potential to get the starter. So if you really want the Blastoise, Charizard, or Venusaur, that's going to be one of the ways to go. The 5-kilometer distance eggs are kind of the Pokemon in the middle, but those 10s are going to be filled with rare Pokemon. I mean, that's your Lapras, there's your Eevee, Aerodactyl, Snorlax, and Dratini. You pretty much only want to go for those 10 kilometers, but at the same time, hatching these lesser eggs is going to be pretty good because Caterpie, Weedle, and Pidgey have the lowest requirement to actually evolving Pokemon, so it can be really good for farming trainer levels at the cost of not hatching a potentially very powerful Pokemon. So that's just some advice right there, is to understand what you want to be going for, and that there is a risk reward involved to the egg hatching. Also, you can actually hatch eggs while in a car as long as you're going under somewhere around 25 miles per hour. I've seen all kinds of reports. I've been in the car when my friends have hatched Pokemon, so it seems like under 30, most likely under 25 miles per hour, and it seems like if you're going around 10 to 15, that is a very safe bet for pretty rapid hatching. So what it really means is that if you have a bike, it still counts, and also if you have a skateboard, it still counts. That's just ways to hatch your eggs. And again, you do have the option to use an incubator that has limited uses. This can be bought in the store, or you also get it while leveling up. Things to consider as you want to go for it, but you will end up with a lot of eggs, and try to plan your egg routes wisely, and do understand that you don't have to be walking just to hatch them every time. Next up, we have Pokemon spawns. So even with all of the information we have, we still don't know exactly everything about Pokemon spawns, but we are getting a bit more information. That at first it was speculated that weather has nothing to do with it, but it is starting to show weather is a very, very big factor, and mostly Pokemon are going to spawn anywhere, but you will get them to be a little more common in certain areas, like gas stations. Makes it a little more common for fire types to spawn near there. Water types are pretty obvious, bodies of water, lakes, during rain. That was one of the big ones, that during rain, people didn't know if it spawned more water Pokemon, but now we have that pretty much confirmed right now. And then thunderstorms is actually going to give you more electric types, as well as near electrical transforming stations. So transformers, power areas like that, they're kind of noticeable when you're driving around them. Might encounter more electric types. Ghost types past sundown during the night. And interestingly and almost morbidly enough, seems to be slightly more common around hospitals. I've seen quite a few posts on my Twitter and Facebook about people that are at the hospital like, is this a good sign? And there's a ghastly chilling there. And some other people have noticed it that have worked around hospitals. So not super confirmed, but that is a rumor right there. But past sundown during the night, very common, well, not very common, but more common to see ghost type Pokemon at that time. Grass, bug, bird types, near parks, grassy fields, green areas, and then normal types will be more urban areas and parks as well. So the information is still coming in, but that's kind of what we have for the spawning. And as for the spawning rates, there's a couple of interesting things about the spawning rates as well as the despawn. So this post right here, just go by the TLDR, 15 minutes. If your mate finds a Dragonite and you're more than 15 minutes away, save yourself the trouble. So it seems like that Pokemon will despawn after appearing for 15 minutes. Sometimes it's shown to be 30 or 45 minutes, but it seems like those are Pokemon that are just despawning but respawning as the same species. And it seems that Pokemon spawn more commonly where there is high cellular traffic. So that does make a lot of sense when you think about it, because this game is based off the app, and if there's more people around, then it just shows that that area should be spawning more Pokemon, since it's more likely to be crossed than somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. So there are some ways that you could really work this out. Join local Facebook groups, you know, look for an area kind of thing and try to find a Facebook group for that. They have a rundown of what spawns in the area, as well as meetups, and Discord organizes meetups as well. So helps you out with gyms and setting up coordinations, Pokestops. Also, going along with spawns being based on cellular traffic, malls are an amazing place to be because of the high activity, good amount of Pokestops, and also employees and businesses are very wise to Pokemon Go. That's such a phenomenon that so many people are flooding everywhere where there's a good Pokemon, or just meeting up, or where there's a lot of Pokestops, that they are throwing out lures, and it actually does good for business. That lures are very inexpensive, that, you know, a lure costs roughly $1, $2 an hour, and if a business can pull in someone to buy something, well, one lure pays for one patron, and you're going to attract potentially dozens in an hour, especially in a place like a mall, or a downtown setting, or a strip mall, or anything like that. So a lot of Pokestops means you can pretty much cycle around, find Pokemon, have a non-stop loop of items, and there could be some free lures there because businesses are trying to get the most out of it. And that's kind of the information update right now. I already did my video about EVs, so there seems to be a trick of getting the proper evolution that you want. I'll try to remember to link that in the description below. But overall, I think we are getting some really good charts coming along right now. Mostly this hit point chart and also the CP chart. I think that this is going to be one of the better ones because if you want a really optimized team, getting more CP per power up is going to give you, like, make your resources last longer in the long run, and then kind of lining it up with this graph right here, make your Pokemon very powerful and stuff like that. But also you can use your favorites and you can just do trainers. There is a really big split right now between the trainers that are going to be the best, you know, thousands of CP, like over 1k, trying to get to 2k CP, holding down gyms and stuff, and then the people that are happy, you know, they just, whenever they see a Pokemon, they grab their phone, they catch it, they level it up if they want to make that Pokemon a part of their team, and then they're content around the 300 to 500 range. That's the cool thing about gyms. You can just kind of keep whacking at it and knocking that gym down just a little more at a time. Also, type matchups are good, so it seems like you will want to build a balanced typing when it comes to your team or your gym. That the reports are showing that type effectiveness seems to be more powerful than CP, so having a really balanced team, a wide range of super effectives, as well as keeping your weaknesses down. It's also showing that normal type Pokemon are pretty powerful for this reason, so I see Pokemon like Snorlax, Chansey doing really well at holding down, and then you just kind of go with the CP rates and everything like that. Egg hatching, min-maxing. Also guys, don't be afraid to spend money. Like, it's just $1 or $5, and then you can get a lot more items that way. Actually, okay, don't be afraid to spend money if you're allowed to. Make sure you talk with your parents if you are on your family's plan, or you're going to be using them for microtransactions, or you're using like your parents' phone if you're a younger kid or something. But at the same time, you know, you're going to be playing this game more than anything else for a while, or at least you're getting hours and hours of usage. If you think it's fair to pay $5 towards a game you're putting 20, 50 hours towards, then yeah, go for it. Most games only last 10, 20 hours nowadays anyways, so you're going to be doing better than if you went out and bought a $20 to $60 game anyways. Also, supporting the developers means you get game longevity and maybe better updates and stuff like that. Either way, Lucky Eggs are probably the most powerful item in the game, getting those experience rates, so it's all about planning everything wisely, you know. Make sure you save up a lot of candy, and then you just go and dump as many evolutions as you can while encountering new Pokemon, while you're on the Lucky Egg, while you're just kind of surfing around, swiping for items in popular areas. So I hope this guide helps, mostly a lot of graphs and stuff for the super hardcore player. I hope you guys enjoy the video, I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.